Faneuil Sports Central, we go for a college football game preview and prediction on the Week 1 matchup between the Oregon Ducks and the Georgia Bulldogs. Huge matchup for both these teams coming up here in Week 1. You got Oregon is looking to be once again a major contender in the Pac-12, facing off against the defending national champions, the Georgia Bulldogs. Should make for a great matchup. We'll be going over a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today. Games will be on Saturday, September 3rd in Atlanta. So this game is in a neutral location, but it is in Georgia. So the Bulldogs, there's no doubt they're going to have more fans there. It's in their home state, despite it being in a neutral location. So Georgia does have an advantage there in fan attendance for sure versus Oregon, which is on the other side of the country. But your kickoff, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, and the spread's going Georgia heavy here, 17.5 points. The Bulldogs are favored in this matchup. Your over-under is 52. And the FPI is going Georgia here, 91.5%. So Bulldogs are significantly favored in this matchup, which makes some sense considering, Georgia just was an outstanding team last season. They had quite a year, and they definitely deserved a national title. But obviously an 11th ranked Oregon team is not a team to sleep on, even though they are underdogs by almost 18 points in this matchup. Series history, these two teams have played once. One time, and Georgia won that game in 1977, so not much of a history between these two teams. Here's your stat comparison. These are 2021 stats by rank out of all 130 FBS teams, so you can see where the strengths were for both these teams last season. Oregon 42nd in points per game, 75th in points allowed, passers a game 76th, rush yards a game 24th, so in the top 25 there in rush yards a game. And for yards allowed, 88th in passing, 53rd for rushing. So, a decent team in Oregon here. Nothing too outstanding and nothing too terrible for the Ducks last year. And Georgia is in the top 40 in multiple areas, almost every area here. They're 10th in points per game, first in points allowed. No doubt Georgia was the best team in the country defensively last season. That defense was outstanding. Their offense only got better over the course of the season. They were 51st in pass yards a game, so Stetson Bennett, that quarterback situation, you could consider it to be potentially one of the weak spots of the team, and it still wasn't even that bad. 36th in rush yards a game, and then for yards allowed, 13th in passing and second in rushing. So once again, just an outstanding team defensively last season in Georgia. Some key points for this one: Oregon 10-4 last year. Auburn transfer quarterback Bo Nix, of course, is the new starting quarterback for the Ducks. And so Bo Nix, he's out of the SEC. He's known Georgia. He knows the conference. So, they do have an advantage there, having Bo Nix coming in from the SEC. But, in the end, Bo Nix is a quarterback that was known for being extremely inconsistent at Auburn. He was a decent quarterback, but obviously nothing too outstanding, and maybe disappointed just a little bit with Auburn. But in the end, not a bad quarterback. He's still got a high ceiling. I think he still has potential for sure, even though at times he maybe wasn't liked by Auburn fans that much because of his inconsistency. But, Oregon is a definite contender for the Pac-12 title, as they are for most seasons. This is a team that returning most of their key talent is looking really good going into this 2022 season. So, the Ducks, you got, honestly, Oregon, Utah. Utah, without a doubt, is my favorite to win a national title in the Pac-12 this season, or at least get to the college football playoff. Utah's probably my favorite there, but Oregon is probably a close second. Oregon's looking, once again, pretty, they're looking strong going into the season for sure here. But if you're looking at this game in particular, this is a crucial one for Oregon. This is a huge opportunity, too, for the Ducks. You can start the season with just a massive win. This would be huge for Oregon. They knocked off Ohio State last season, and no one expected them to win that game. So potentially they maybe pull an upset over Georgia here. It's a possibility. So, Oregon's got to keep the game close early on, really get off to a fast start, a really good start. Because, if you go down by 2 touchdowns in the first quarter and Georgia keeps building on that lead in the first half, it's going to be really tough for them to come back into this game, I think, especially going up against a brutal Georgia defense. So Oregon got to keep it close early on, potentially hang around in the matchup, and maybe steal the game in the end. But for Georgia, the defending national champions, they remain strong. This is a team that they were great last season, had so much talent. They lost a few of their key players, but in the end, they're returning a lot as well. So I'm not too terribly concerned about the returning production for Georgia. They're looking pretty good. Defensively, though, this team was brutal last season. That was one of the best defenses that I've seen in college football that Georgia had last season. Just an outstanding team on defense. And do they have the potential to win another national title? I really think so. I mean, obviously Alabama and Ohio State are your two favorites heading into the season, but Georgia is a close third. They are up there for sure, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw this team win another national title when this season is said and done. But that said, let's get to the prediction here for Oregon and Georgia, the big matchup coming up here in week 1. I'm going to go Georgia here. 31-17 is my predicted final score. This is, I mean, I'm just straight up, I'm more confident picking Georgia in this matchup. Georgia is the more talented team. They certainly defensively are the better team. And even though I think Oregon's got a chance, I'm not counting the Ducks out by any means, but I definitely think Georgia's my favorite in this matchup just because of that talent that they have returning, coming off of the national title season. I mean, this is a Georgia team that is extremely talented. They also, you can't forget, I mean, this game is in a neutral location, but it's in Georgia. So Georgia is basically the home team for this matchup. And it's obviously it's going to be a challenge for Oregon, especially an offense that's got a couple of question marks. I mean, this is Bo Nix's first game here with Oregon, so he's going to have a really outstanding game here if the Ducks want to stand a chance here. I'm going to say 65% towards Georgia. Kind of was leaning towards 70, but I'm going to keep it at 65. The FPI is saying 91%, which is, I think, extremely heavy, but over-under is 52. I'm going to take the under for this matchup and Oregon to cover, which kind of a dangerous game playing the under and picking Georgia to win this matchup. Honestly, if Oregon wins, if you're picking Oregon to win this matchup, you're probably going to be taking the under. I wouldn't expect Oregon to score more than probably 25 points in this game. I mean, they're going to have to really hold Georgia's defense or Georgia's offense down if they want to win this game, just because of how brutal Georgia's defense is, and I don't expect the Bulldogs defense to allow a lot of points in this matchup. So, but in the end, 31-17, I've got Oregon covering the spread barely. But in the end, Georgia wins. I'm pretty confident in that. Let me know your thoughts and comments below on this matchup, and I appreciate you guys watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.